or any civil servant, it's never 100%. There is nowhere in the world that you'll have medical insurance. You have to appreciate that the package that share has increased even on the issue when you're traveling under KMPTC has increased even from 500,000 to 800,000. Even for us, I know Professor might have finished giving birth, but for us who are still giving birth, the money that was 7,000 has gone to 15,000. Even for the CS has increased to 35 under what we call Linda Jamii program. And I agree there could be challenges, and there are some allegations of fraud. And you heard the CS when he talked the last time we engaged him. There have been cases of fraud. But the question is, the NHIF was covering a few of us who are civil servants who had the privilege of working, but SHA is extending by ensuring everybody is captured. So, and you have even seen today that SHA and the President William Ruto has launched the issue of ambulance. You know, as a senator, even in my county, you have to have 1,000, 2,000. If you have a crisis like now, midnight, you are forced to give 2,000, 1,000 for fuel of the ambulance to be able to get somebody to hospital. I was told of a case where in Mandera they are using 5 hours. There was a case they took a woman in labor distress for 5 hours through a motorbike in Mandera, and she ended up losing her life and the baby. So these are realities that we must fix. I can agree there could be challenges, but the solution is not running away from fixing those challenges, especially in the LT sector. When my brother says that the promises that the president made is including what we are trying to fix on the issue of SHA, on the issue of affordable housing. In fact, affordable housing, for example, most of us who live in this city and have stayed in this city, a majority of Kenyans are living in indignity. In Mukuru kwa Nyenga, many other, Mukuru kwa Rupen, Kibra, and many other areas, they are living, even you as human, you feel your dignity abused. And that is why the president said, and by the way, it was in Azimio and Kenya Kwanza, the issue of housing. I know the people who people are saying this should have not been levied, should have been voluntary contribution, like the National Housing Project. But the point is, how do we assist Kenyans to own a home? To get a good home in this city, for example, you might have 7 to 100 million, or if you buy the cheaper ones, 20, 30 million, these apartments that are called service. But the point is, we wanted Kenyans to live with dignity. And that is why we are saying we have to live with reality. The president has talked about Vision 2030. We must, there is across the country, I heard Professor saying he was in Nakuru, there are many springing up urban centers. We are looking into the decade where most people will prefer living in the urban centers. And even where I come from, I can confirm to Professor, I know he comes from a region where they depend heavily on agriculture. We are now subdividing land too much into small pieces that is no longer productive. The solution is to try with this housing so that we can do what we call land consolidation process, so that we don't lose the food production in this country. And therefore the president promised affordable housing is trying to fix. And I was embarrassed that the neighboring senator here, the Nairobi city senator, Mr. Watenya Sifuna, was saying his chicken could not climb up to 12th floor. That is the simplistic way of you seeing things. If you look at the story of Singapore, and we have said we are going to Singapore via Canaan. That is where Raila left us. Even in this Vision 2060, it was Raila's idea. And therefore, if you find a leader simplifying the indignity by saying, you know, the chicken will not go to 12th floor. I know you come from that region. Chicken is important. But how many Kenyans do not have a good living, decent place? In fact, in Nairobi, he should be thanking the government, because where housing crisis is in Nairobi, there are many young people I know who are hustling in this town, who are trying to make life hard. Number two, in the issue of economy that my brother has alluded to, the economy has been facing challenges like fuel disruption, supply. You saw the Strait of Hormuz, the war between America. Some of these effects to the economy originate from what we call other factors that it's hard for us to control as a country. It is geopolitics issues that we are facing. In fact, the economy has really been resilient. You know, we faced the Gen Z revolution in 2024. It affected largely. We are now, you saw the impeached deputy president scaring away investors, scaring tourists. It will affect the economy. But you can see, if, for example, I can use one example so that I don't take much time.
But how did you scare away the tourists?
Aliko Dangote, so that I don't lose. If Aliko Dangote, the dollar billionaire of Africa, has decided to set a oil refinery in Lamu, in Kenya, rather than in Tanga, in Tanzania. It shows the confidence that investors see this country. Even the expansion of Gigiri UN headquarters, it shows this as strategic. So I agree there is the challenge of macroeconomics and microeconomics. We have to appreciate, and I know where, just to conclude with this, the youth. And that is why the president, even in partnership with World Bank, there was the issue of Nyota. We have tried with the Hustler Fund. There is the Youth Enterprise Fund. He's trying in a way to ensure the young people have a foothold in the startup. Even on the issue of school fees at the university level, you have had the president say, if young people who are going to university and tertiary colleges, they don't need to, this university funding model, we do away with it, and ensure if you qualify, the government will ensure they pay school fees. I remember when I was going to law school after university, you know, we used to help. So when I came to Kenya School of Law, it was not covered with Higher Education Loan Board. And and some of us come from very humble background. It was hard for me to come and pay, I think, around 200,000 then. And also to live in Nairobi. You know, I was in Moi University School of Law to relocate. You know, the parents were struggling. And we used to find it inconvenient and unfair because people who are doing engineering courses, their help would continue. But the fact that you are coming to Kenya School of Law, the higher education, and I agree with the president. So those are indicators. Finally, on the issue of agriculture, you have to agree.
But on the issue of the Hustle Fund as well, because they've been on the committee before, in the Senate, and you've questioned the revolving fund of the Hustler Fund has not been working. Yet you keep on asking for more. So isn't that also taking, you know, this, this funding and just throwing it into a hole that, because the idea was, you know, it has to be revolving, just as
it has to be
been revolving.
But you know, you must also have enforcement mechanisms, and that is why we were.
But it has failed. Who has?
Yes, Oparanya and Mangeni to ensure that they put in place on recovering such money, because no one likes repaying loan, even if you borrow in a commercial bank. So it's about the enforcement. So the question is, how do you enforce to ensure that the revolving fund? And we have given opportunity, and the one way is to track these people and ensure they refund the money, because it was supposed to be used. It's like ile chama ya mama, so that when you use, you improve, so that somebody else can too. And that is why we want to appeal to young people. If you have gotten a chance to get the Hustler Fund and you have used to start up a business, it's always prudent and wise to look out for your brother. Because at the end of the day, only solution is to come and arrest you, to come and sell your cows or your TV and recover the government money. But that is not the intention of that. The Hustler Fund was to ensure the young people access, and that is why even after the Hustler, there was this program in partnership with World Bank of the Nyota Fund to ensure young people start up, and there was a tranche of 22. It cumulatively has to add to 50,000. So all these factors is trying to address. I agree with Prof that the macro economics might not be work, but that is the challenge of any economy.
But that is where, you know, the rubber meets the road. You know, people will not be wanting to hear all these numbers being crunched about the GDP. What about the Human Development Index at the end of the day? Is that the primary way to actually measure and gauge